On this episode of Creative Cabin Fever, I catch up with Leila Jane. Now, I first came to know Leila Jane when I was working on Transmission Music Festival. I interviewed her on the radio prior to meeting her. I lost myself completely in her songs for days on end, trying to understand the person I was going to then be, meeting at the festival and, presenting at the festival, because I think that's super important. Her song Women's Blues completely blew me away, and I can't wait to talk about that song in more detail because it's probably my favourite one of her songs for many, many reasons. And then obviously we did Transmission Music Festival and we got on really, really well. And her country western spaghetti twang and her incredible voice and her demeanour, everything about her that day just blew me away. And then she wears these incredible pink suits and you're just like, oh my god, this girl is so cool. And then she does these incredible accents on the Instagrams and she's just really, really humble in herself and amazing. And it's great to be able to anticipate a new release, which is coming on the 26th. 25th. Okay. On the 25th. So we have a brand new track coming out and that's why we have this opportunity to catch up. But before we get there, Leila, how are you today?
I'm good. I'm having a good day. Thanks.
Welcome. So we met at Transmission, which was a great day, and we talked before that on the radio, and that was also awesome. And when I got to Transmission, no one knew they actually got interviewed by me on the radio. They were just like, that was just some random girl on the radio.
Yeah. I really miss I don't know, so far this summer there hasn't been anything really that tops Transmission Festival, or there hasn't been any really festivals, and I'm very much missing them. But
we had a great time.
yeah, it's amazing that it was able to go ahead. Like, it was kind of seemed like the middle of lockdown, and then lockdown went on for so long.
Lockdown is still going on, and we got really, really lucky actually the way it fell, because we just kind of fell between lockdowns and we were allowed and within the regulations to do what we were doing, which was just a stroke of universal luck. Sometimes these things, they just go the way they're supposed to go. And this summer is not looking promising. There's loads of pilot festivals going ahead that are mostly tribute band festivals and stuff like that. So but I understand that everyone deserves a festival. It's always going to be that little bit harder for the independents when they're going, oh look, we haven't done anything in so long.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So weighing the way back, Leila Jane, how did you find your craft? So I know obviously you were a child actor from a very, very young age, which is super exciting and cool to know about someone, but talk to us about how you became you.
Yeah, I love that you said that I was a child actor. That's actually an interesting story because I didn't do I haven't done an awful lot of acting, but I always knew I had a passion for it. But so when I was 4, I was in London, and my parents had these friends who were actors, and their daughter was wrote this little film, and it was called Believing in Bluebell, and they wanted me to be in it, so I was in it, and I was really proud of it and stuff. And then we got a copy of it, and then my dad accidentally taped over it, and I was so sad, and we just never got the copy of it back. And then recently, I just thought to myself, I'm gonna contact them and get that back for myself, because it's like a little piece of myself that I felt was missing for a while. And then we managed to get it back, and it was in their attic in London. These friends, we generally, you see them on Facebook, so that makes it, the way the world has gone, it's very easy to contact people, and it was amazing just seeing it, and it was exactly how I must have a very good memory, because it was exactly how I imagined it. It was interesting seeing it, and I couldn't believe that it was actually, the last time I'd seen it was when I was actually 4, and then I see it, now. So that's what the post on, I was an inner actor as a child, but sadly
you were.
Yeah. So now I'm, maybe that part of me was suppressed for a while, But I think through music, I was able to just sort of find my expression, and then once I achieved that, now I'm gradually sort of getting the urge to get back towards my acting passion, but also in a way that like suits me, and that's why I was doing the accents, because that's something that I enjoy, and it's kind of unique to my understanding of acting. And I don't know, I just like characters and being silly.
I do you know what, that inner child is so important to take out. Like, I think people who don't engage with that inner child and the playfulness of life just are missing out on massive
Yeah,
opportunities.
I
Like,
know. I literally want to be like that all the time, you know? Like, and I'm really realizing as life goes on that there's nothing stopping you from being being that way all the time.
no. I'm going to be 36 in like 2 months' time, and I am literally still the biggest child in the world, and I'm going to continue to be the biggest child in the world, even when
Amazing.
my kid grows up and it's no longer acceptable.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah.
So that's magic that you got the film back, and then you're like, oh, I really miss doing accents and stuff, or this is something that I really miss pursuing about myself. I love that. I love that.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Like, definitely. So I don't know. I'm just seeing where life is taking me now, because now it's like, I guess for so long I felt as though, you know, I had to do things to satisfy, you know, the system or like people, other people. And now it's like the first time in my life where it's like, oh, I'm I'm I am entitled to do things that satisfy myself, you know? And so I'm like, you know, it's hard like trying to become a musician, but I think if you have the right drive, then, you know, it should be possible. And as long as I'm doing things that keep me happy and I enjoy, because I don't want to, you know, I want to do things that I'm good at. Yeah.
Yeah, and none of us start off good at anything. That takes practice. So,
Yeah.
so how did you start off as a musician? What was your gateway moment into the rock and roll music industry?
Okay, my gateway moment. Well, yeah, it's kind of similar. So, yeah, I always knew that I could sing, but I wasn't always like forthcoming about it. You know, I didn't feel like I was in the right environment to nurture that part of myself. But when I was like bits of it came out at times. Like also when I was 5, I learned "Son of a Preacher Man," because I was just like I saw Stars in Their Eyes on TV, and I was like, I want to learn that song because I just thought it was good. So I always had good taste, you know, as well. So, but yeah, like different life events, you know, I was like I was like kind of settling in London at the age of 5 and 6. And then I was taken to Donegal, which was great. Like Donegal is great, but there's a big culture difference as well, which was interesting. And it's interesting for accents as well, because you pick up on different ways of being, which is great. So yeah, back to the question. I felt like I always had it in me, but then when I was 13, it was like a sort of new phase, and I went to a singing camp, and I was shy about singing, but I was kind of like flattered that the singing coach, I could see that he was kind of like trying to pick people that he could recruit to his singing lessons. So I think he had an agenda, but I was like flattered that someone actually thinks I can sing, and I know I can sing, but like it's nice to get that confirmation. So then I did go to singing lessons, not with him but with someone else during my teenage years, and at the same time I was really really into bluegrass music. So, you know, as well, at the age of 13 I watched Oh Brother Where Art Thou, and it was just, I don't know, maybe it's just something about just the sort of vintage hillbilly culture. It just felt very freeing to me, and I really really loved Alison Krauss and her voice, and also the Cox family. The like, I think it's Suzanne Cox, who her voice is like pretty similar to Alison Krauss's voice, but just the emotion in it, it was really like moving for me. And so that was kind of what I started with. I started learning those songs on guitar, like the kind of like simple country um bluegrassy stuff, because it's simple but it's also fulfilling to sing. So that kind of mixed with, I was going to singing lessons, so I was kind of, that gave me a bit more confidence because I was learning about breathing and singing. And yeah, so then at the age of 15 or 14, my cousins, because I was in Donegal and like I had a lot of cousins around my age, and a lot of them were actually into music as well. But I always kind of felt like I was a bit different. So I joined a band with them, and we were singing Arctic Monkey stuff and popular stuff, and but I always had this like thing of like, well, I want to do like bluesy stuff, but no one really got it at that time. So I left the band, and it was nice because my other cousin just replaced me in the band, and they kept going for a bit longer. So, and then I was able to do my own stuff, and basically I've been, since that time at 15, we were playing gigs in the local youth club in Letterkenny, and since then, wherever I've been, there's always been gigs. Like I've always played gigs, no matter where I've been, I guess. It's always been a thing. So, and as time has gone on, I feel like I guess I've just developed more, and just through doing it loads and recording and stuff. So, yeah, that's it.
That's amazing. I've never been to Donegal yet, but I have a massive friend ring, I guess, of people that I've not really met yet that are all incredibly creative. So everything from Donegal just seems to be like this mad like well of creativity. I keep asking them to send me a bottle in the post just from the water, just to see if it inspires me.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe if I hadn't moved to Donegal, like none of this would have happened.
So you wouldn't know, like so many creative forces seem to come from Donegal. I find it amazing, from artists to singers to, it's just wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like lockdown has affected people differently, and one of the questions I like to ask is, how has lockdown affected your creativity? So aside from the accents and obviously the tracks that are coming, has there been any kind of changes to how you approach creativity?
I guess maybe. I mean, not a lot of changes. I guess there's been changes in my goals and my mindset. I really wanted to use the lockdown as a chance to just like shake off all like the tensions from previous years, like because I felt like before that it was like go 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 go, like it was like, oh, I've got to do this, and it was just, I didn't have time to tune into myself. So I was like, oh great, I can take a breather now. So I've just been trying to let things flow at their own time, and I have written some songs, but a lot of my songs, to be honest with you, come from just like, I guess like just difficult emotions. Like if I'm in a situation and like something feels off or something, or I learn something about someone, like I have to, it's like I can't keep that information in or those feelings in, like I have to put it into a song. So usually that gives me some great creative, input. I guess a lot of people, like to write about breakups and stuff, but mine is, it's not just breakup, it's like, it's a bit more like, it doesn't have to be a breakup, it can just be sort of like an interaction, and then it like inspires this whole like, oh my god, like this thing. So yeah, depending on that, but also I try to keep the creative flow going, like a good thing that I find helps me sometimes if I'm feeling that creativity is to just like put my phone to like a timer of 10 minutes and then just like free write for 10 minutes. And then I have all these sheets of like random writing, and if I'm working on a song and I need sort of ideas for lyrics or imagery, I can just go back to those sheets and check out, see if there's any interesting cool things, because and sometimes when I write a song, you know, it just feels right, and I don't particularly, it's hard to articulate what it's about, but then afterwards it's like, oh yeah, it's like my subconscious was trying to tell me something, and then now I can see it in front of me in this song. And so yeah, I always find that songwriting has helped with me getting to know my own process and my mind, and it's, I don't know what I would have done without it. It's like therapy, really. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And you do it so well as well, because you allow yourself to be so vulnerable. Well, I don't know if it's allowing yourself, it just, you are.
Yes.
You know? Like, so Woman's Blues, for instance, there's an incredibly powerful song that I think unfortunately not that many people know about, and I'd like to change that. Like, if I could pick one song right now that I wish more people knew about because of the message and the imagery and the importance, that's definitely up there for me in the Irish music industry as songs that really got kind of not the attention that they truthfully deserve. So like, it's, to me, like, it's a song about the difficulties of being a woman. It's not even about a breakup, it's not even about anything like that. It's about the struggles we have. It's about how men don't understand, because they don't have to live in our feet. Like, you know, they don't have to walk around with our shoes. How scary it can be sometimes. Like, I mean,
yeah. I guess, yeah, and I think a lot of what I feel is a bit different about my songwriting and the way I write songs is that, well, like, it's like Women Blues was, and some of my other songs as well, is like, I just feel so angry, and like I need to I need to just put down exactly. I don't want to like I it's like leave my mind away. Like, okay, I just get rid of trying to write any sort of like sophisticated lyrics or whatever. It's just like, okay, get rid of that. What do I want to say? Like, get to the point. So, and I like doing that sometimes because it's the most vulnerable and honest way of writing. You know, I'm angry. There's a reason, and here's a song, like, you know, and then people can connect to it and relate to it. And Women Blues, it's, yeah, I wrote that. There were a couple of things, I guess, that inspired it. Like, I think I was angry that it was kind of coming to the end of my time with a band that I had been gigging with, and obviously they're all guys and stuff, and you know, and it was obviously it's a lot of stuff I need to learn about communication, but often, like, because I'm empathetic or whatever, there's this expectation that, oh well, you should be empathetic, like, so it's like, yeah, but hang on a minute, like, can't we all like relate on the same level? And so it's like, as soon as there's a point where I'm trying to state my point of view, the other people are like, yeah, but you should listen to our point of view, you know, like, you know, that yours doesn't matter, like, listen to our perspective. Can you understand how this is making us feel? And I'm thinking, yeah, I can. That's what I do every day. Like, I constantly put myself in other people's shoes. Like, when is the time going to come when anyone bothers to put themselves in my shoes? So yeah, I guess it's an equal thing, because you can get into this argument of like, well, you're not thinking about what I'm feeling. Well, you're not thinking about what I'm feeling. So really, like, I am coming from a good place, like a wholehearted place. I want everyone to realize that everyone is human, and we all need to be heard. And sometimes it's okay to like put people in their place, and as long as you're coming from a good intention. So basically that's what Women Blues does. And you know, and like, there are some shocking things about being a woman that you see, you know, in certain situations, like, yeah, and I, yeah, that bit about being kissed inside a bar or whatever. I was like just at a gig, and I don't know, some like suave American guy, young guy, just like snogs me in the middle of the crowd, and then then I just like try and run away from him, like, and like get to the front of the stage so I can just dance in peace. So I just use that little memory to stick it in that song. So, yeah. Yeah.
I think that's a very impactful line in that song, because you're just like, yeah, that happens us the whole time. Fall asleep at a party. Who knows what might happen while you're sleeping? Never mind. You know what I mean? Like, you could just be in a bar and some random guy like doesn't like. But then you see, there's a funny thing, right? Because like, should men really ask if they can kiss you? Because that kind of takes the dynamic away from it. But like, maybe there should be some kind of engagement before just like lobbing the gob. Do you know?
Yeah. Like it all depends on context and time, and definitely, you know, you could have the same event, but it could be totally different depending on the like the sort of intention and I don't know, mood behind it or whatever. But yeah, there are subtle things that it's shocking that things happen, and you see a lot. I just and when you're vulnerable, like, it's good because like, I've been reading a lot of books lately about, you know, spirituality and stuff, and like the ultimate strength is like ultimate vulnerability, according to what I've read. So that's what I'm trying to put across as well. You know, I think we could all use some of that.
Yeah, I think vulnerability is definitely one of my strengths. I think a lot of people are actually freaked out by it. The fact that I allow myself to be so vulnerable, the fact that I'm perfectly okay with how imperfect I am. Like, that freaks people out.
Well, yeah, like it freaks I think the right people it would like encourage. Like, for me to see that in someone, it's actually quite heartwarming and encouraging, because then it feels like, oh, I am okay, you know, I'm okay too. So that's also how I want to make people feel through my music, is that, oh, like, oh, it's okay to have experienced that or felt that way. Oh, then I must be okay, you know? It's coming from a good place, and I want people to feel okay about themselves and what they've been through and stuff, because shit happens, you know? Like, and music is a great way of just like of embracing everything that happens. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a universal healer. Like, it's the language that everyone speaks. Do you know? Like, the first sense that's engaged in you in your mom's womb is actually your hearing. Like, the first thing you will hear is the swish of water. Like, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Her heartbeat, like, that's literally all you know when you're inside the tummy. Like,
yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, like, also, you know, even though like I never felt that heard or whatever as a child, I felt like I struggled a lot. I think it comes across in my music sometimes. It's like I'm trying. I feel like there's this like force against me. I'm trying to like express what I need to express, but it's like I need to sort of learn to let go of imagining that there's something that's trying to stop me from expressing myself, you know, which I felt a lot. But going back to what I said, yeah, like I think the good, like, when I was a child, like my parent in London even, to get me to sleep, I think my mum would put like like headphones on me, and like it was like Elvis and stuff playing. So like, no wonder I'm doing what I'm doing. Like, you know, it was like lots of music blasted at me all the time. So that was good.
Yeah, I'm the same. Keanu gets music all the time. And he's the only person who gets to hear me sing on a constant. Everyone else might accidentally hear me sing, but it's not something I do on purpose. So like,
Yeah. That's great. That's awesome.
yeah, music is so important. And I think the music you create is incredibly powerful and beautiful. So I'm really excited to hear more about the new single.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm excited too. So it is called Look Away From Our Creation, and it's coming out on the 25th of June. And yeah, I'm hoping that this will lay the ground for some new material that I'm recording right now. I'm planning on releasing, but this single is really cool. I it's I recorded it with some bandmates in BIM when I was at BIM. So I graduated from BIM in 2019, and they were going to release the single back then, I think, but I just said, can you wait? Because I needed to just feel like it was the right time as an artist to release the single, and now I feel it is the right time. So it's going to be good. Yeah. Hopefully people enjoy it. And again, I think it's in the same vein of just that kind of like anger, but like well-intentioned anger in my songwriting. Yeah.
Yeah, it's your fire. I wouldn't even call it anger. It's fire. You know? Yeah. It's that thing that lights you up. It's that thing that makes you such a light, actually. It's very important. And that duality in all of us actually is super important. So if anger is what leads you, good.
Yeah. It's a driving force of motion and change.
Spite is one of mine.
Spite. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm going to perform well despite and in spite of others.
Yeah. No, I can get on board with that. Yeah, I love that. Yeah. It can drive you, yeah, like if someone says like, oh, you know, you're just not really good at that or something, like, then you're like, okay, thank you, and then you like go off and you do your thing and you're like, oh, look, yeah, I guess I am. Guess I am good, actually.
You know, I'm still doing it, so like,
yeah,
you know. Or another thing that really, 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 really like drives me on is rejection. I take that really well. Like, I find rejection really easy to take. What I find difficult to take is acceptance and love. Those are the ones I struggle with.
Yeah, that can be a challenge. Yeah, it's like you got to flip your brain around. But being able to deal with rejection is a good thing, definitely. And it's interesting. Yeah, and you start to like, you have to just realize that people, like, if I was thinking, well, if they knew me and if they really understood and got me, then there would be no reason for them to reject me. It's just them that don't get it. So that, why wouldn't they reject you, you know? So yeah, recently I've been thinking that, especially like as a musician, there's this site called Submit Hub, and basically like, you know, you pay a small amount to like submit. It's a great site, like, but you don't know. You're like, it's like going in blind, nearly. Like, you've got a faint idea of whether this like blog or playlister might like your track, but most of the time it's like they always come back and say something like, oh yeah, like it just doesn't, it's good at its core, but the lyrics aren't good enough for me. And then for someone else it's like, oh, the production isn't good enough for me. So at least like they all come back with different things, so you know there's not just there's not one thing that's obviously wrong with your track. It's like, well, if everyone has a different thing to say about it, then you know it must just be opinions, because there's no objective thing that is actually wrong, you know.
Yeah. I imagine I think I take that like a champ. In fact, it would just make me create more. But like, I imagine there's a lot of people who struggle with that, who struggle with the idea that there might be like a difference in there, or that there might be like, oh, this person doesn't like my song, I'm never going to write again. Whereas some people are just genuinely being objective, like they're actually,
Yeah, they actually don't like the song.
but it's not even necessarily that they don't like the track. Like I remember when I was
Yeah.
doing reviews, it's very difficult to write objectively about music because you're always going to let your personal feelings, especially someone like me. So for me, music is felt. It's not, music is felt. I just
Yeah.
feel things through music. It's not necessarily that I understand how music works, or that I can name out all the instruments in a track, or that I'm perfectly able to explain to you how verses, choruses, and all this work. That's not really how music works for me. It's a felt thing. It was always a felt thing. I'll just have a connection to music that probably closer to spirit than it is to humans, but like
Mm.
it's just the way it is. I will go into my bedroom and put my legs in the air like an antenna and just completely connect to music. It's always been that way. It's my form of meditation, it's my everything. So having to transport feelings into words that are objective about a song is something that I find particularly difficult, and it was a huge learning curve. I loved doing it. But I
Mm.
imagine when you're like a review blog, then like all you can, there's probably a just middle between people who experience music the way I do and people who are critically.
Yeah, definitely. And for me, the most important thing is the feeling in music, and like whether you can feel and connect to it, and yeah, like someone like you, like that's what it's about for you too. So, um, it is interesting. Like everyone's looking to get something different out of what music they listen to. So there really is. It really does cover a lot of ground, because it can be, music can be very intellectual as well, but it also has to be emotional, and so really it is great in the fact that it's so inclusive, I think, as well. Yeah.
Yeah, it's wonderful being in a field with like, well, when we can again, like hundreds of thousands of people, and some people are there to connect with music the way we do. Other people are there just because they don't even know why, but we're all there for the same reason, and we're
Yeah,
all there,
but the music,
the
yeah.
music. Just some people feel it to their soul and it hurts when it's not around. And then other people just kind of, whatever music.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
obviously,
it's, yeah.
oh, sorry, the song itself is based on a fairly, fairly complex theology. Like, you know what I mean? Grasping from the title and what I've read from
Yeah.
you about the song. So that's even interesting to me, that you would take a subject matter like that one and create a song, especially knowing what's going to come, because I obviously have a fair understanding of your musical process from your past work. So I know that it's going to be cheery and jangly, but I also know it's going to have your incredible voice to it, and vulnerability, and words that only you can write the way you do, because that's your thing.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. Um, yeah, it does. I do like the sort of contrast between having an accessible like sound, cheerful or whatever, but the lyrics are a bit more dark, and they are like simple lyrics that just express a sort of a mood, but also pinpoint a very simple general message, um, which I like. Like it came about because it actually came up about the song came about after a college assignment, where we had to go and read Metamorphosis by Franz Kafka and then write a song based on it. So, and I think with that story, um, what I think about it is that like a load of people could read it, but everyone could come away with a different interpretation, because it's quite, there's a lot of ambiguity to it, but in a way it kind of brings out what's in that person who's reading it, what's in their subconscious, because they put a meaning to it. So I guess for me the meaning was like really obvious. I'm thinking like, oh, you read metaphor, obviously it's about this, but I don't think, you know, everyone would think that. So basically my song is the meaning that came across to me, and for me it like relates to like the world in general. And basically the song is saying that we what I felt happened in the story Metamorphosis was that the parents who had this like but this son who had turned into a bug, they wanted to like just ignore him because he was a bug. Now they just needed to shut the door and ignore it. They weren't interested in saying, I wonder why he turned into a bug, like what did we do? Or like they're just like, oh, just shut it away, we don't want to see it. Like and I feel like a lot of the time the world is a bit like that. It's like come on, like there's nothing. It's actually more empowering to say, oh yeah, I guess I messed up, you know. Like wouldn't you just love to see a politician who stood on a stage and was like, yeah guys, like I guess I messed up, you know.
We're all growing here together, and
yeah.
these type of incidents are bound to happen. So how about we hug it out and we work together towards a brighter future?
Yeah, that would be so cool. You'd be like, oh my god, you rock. Yeah. But like it's this whole thing of like no, I was right, you know, we are right. And if you keep going down that path of like, no, I'm always right, you're just gonna end up getting blue in the face, because like, you know, we're human and the reality is that we mess up, and that's okay, because how is supposed to learn if we don't accept what we've done wrong and actually celebrate mistakes from a young age, and that'll teach us how to see ourselves from a more loving perspective as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think that's one of the other reasons vulnerability is so important, like, is the absence of pride, the okayness with being imperfect, the constant strive to learn new things. Like, I don't think I have anything figured out. I'm quite happy, actually, that every day I learn something new about myself and the surrounding world. And then as parents, like, if Keanu turns into a bug tomorrow, Leila Jane, I won't be closing my door on him. I'll be like, oh my God, how did I let this happen? What kind of sci-fi film are we in? But you know, like, a lot of the time that inner child of ours needs to be healed by ourselves, because there's no conversation possible between the parent and the child. So you get to be your own parent. You get to look after that orphan child. You get to heal that child and on all the things that happened. Like, that's how society seems to work on a constant, like.
Yeah. And I think there's a big movement at the moment of like getting people to like almost just heal themselves, or like be their own role model, be their own parent, be their own like person that they can rely on. And that's always been something that, you know, I've instinctively leaned towards. I think even I just knew at 20 that I needed to go to America for 3 months on my own, and it was a great experience because I felt I loved just relying just on myself, because if I'm able to rely on myself, then, you know, then I don't have to, if something goes wrong or whatever, it's no big deal. I don't have to sort of like depend on someone else who might not be where I'm at, or it's very freeing to be independent, I think.
Yeah, I think when it gets dangerous is when you're like, so you're supposed to find the middle, which is interdependability. But I usually go from codependent to hyperdependent, independent in like the second, like this, like part. So it's just trying to find that thing that allows you to be part of something without relying on anything. That's the journey. That's the developmental journey.
It is, and it's like what I find as well is like you can be you know, it's fine. Oh, I'm independent. I feel great. I feel great. But then when something comes in that you get involved with, it's like keeping that sort of detachedness enough that you are still that independent person, but you know. And so sometimes what happens to me is like the thing comes in, and I'm like really getting on, and it like pulls me away from. I kind of like I think I'm doing fine until it's like people affect me, and then I'm like, whoa, okay, maybe I still need to do some work.
And we're all gonna continue to need to do some work. So like I'm finally going from a incredibly hyper independent phase to a I can trust people again phase, where I'm even just allowing friends back into my life. Like, because that's how quick I'll snap. Like, I'll go from one to the other, and I'm like, okay. Maybe it's okay for me to have a social life with my friends. Maybe it's okay for my friends to be around me and my kid. Maybe it's okay for me to ask for help. Because I sure give a lot. It's just the receiving is.
Yeah, it's a balance, and I guess everyone has to find their own balance. And it's hard. Like, there's no you arrive into this world, and there's no like there's only the rules that people invent, and but really you're a fresh it's life is just an experiment, and you are freshly discovering things, and it's easy to get sucked into sort of like structures and beliefs, but like really you should like go into them and then come out in like a constant like I don't know like in order for me to understand something first I have to sort of agree with it, and then later I might find actually I don't agree with that, or like you know my opinions constantly change based on the sort of experience and evidence that I see. So, and that's okay. Like it's okay to be constantly like moving and developing. You don't have to have the same like opinion about something forever. It's okay to have to think one thing 1 minute and then change your opinion the next minute. Like definitely.
I actually recommend that. I think it's good to always be open to the fact that you're going to change your mind, especially because life is so grey, right? Like there is no black and white. So you might think that this applies to this situation, but then you see a situation that's almost similar, but it's actually completely different. So if you thought the same thing for both situations.
Exactly. Yeah. And and it's nice to sort of realize this, because sometimes like I feel guilty, like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have said that, or like, and then you're like, no, in that moment, that's what I felt, and I'm okay. It's okay for me to like come away and, you know, reflect, and I'm constantly, you know, I don't have to have such rigid expectations all the time. Yeah.
No. I love that. Like, I think it's so important. Like, I'd be like, okay, so today I feel like this. It doesn't mean I'm going to feel like that tomorrow. And then just sitting with your emotions and trying to figure them out, as opposed to being more reactive. Like, I've gotten quite good at that one. Every so often there's a bit of a, but yeah.
Well done, yeah. Yeah, no, I get it. Yeah. I'm on the same journey.
I think it's good. I love that this conversation has turned into like betterment. Like this often happens actually. And then as well, the other thing is like certain instances seem to upset me, but like it's actually a mirror of self as opposed to what's actually happening in the moment. So it's like, how do you find those triggers and go, okay, so this isn't quite fixed yet. So now let's just feel super uncomfortable until we chase what's wrong here. And then...
Yeah. Exactly, yeah. And I guess that's what I was trying to say earlier about like, you know, you're doing fine, and then something happens and it's like, whoa, this triggers this in me, and sometimes my triggers aren't like sometimes my triggers are like getting too excited, or like getting too like laughing too much at something when I really want to just be like centered and grounded. So I'm like, oh, hang on a minute, like, you know, that's kind of funny, like, because we always see triggers as like a negative, like, oh, as like a sort of anger, like you know, you imagine triggers as being an anger outburst, but it's not like that at all. Like it's like oh, I can feel like when I'm slipping into like it's like you losing a bit of control of how you feel, and you just have to be aware of it, I guess, because obviously it's nice to laugh and stuff, but I want to sort of be able to choose when I laugh and when I'm, you know, want to be more serious.
Yeah, I know, I get that. And it's like, yeah, a lot of people seem to think triggers or anger or all those dark qualities that we all possess should be suppressed and forgotten about, whereas actually stars only shine in the night. So you have to chase those birds, you have to live with them, you have to feel them, and you have to conquer them and shine brighter.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and like I think that's why I'm drawn to people like David Lynch, obviously, and it kind of coincides with, like, I was reading. It's a really good book, The Way of the Peaceful Warrior. But there's another book called. It's like it goes with that book. I can't remember the name, like the Sacred Journey of the Peaceful Warrior or something, and it's like it talks about before you can actually get to that, like, you know, peaceful high state, there's no shortcut to it. You have to visit all these like darker, lower stages. So if we try and suppress that and just be like, oh, everything's great, like, you know, all the time, then we've not dealt with embracing the, like, the human darkness or whatever. So like what inspires me about David Lynch is that he's, you know, he's into like the meditation and stuff, but all his films touch on this sort of like the like ugly darkness like stuff, and but in doing that it embraces it and allows you to, like, you know, let them come up and surface so that you can like clearly see them and then let them fly off. So it's always, yeah, that kind of aspect, I guess, has always inspired me. And then it was like confirmed when I read this book, this like spiritual book that talks about visiting those, having to like go through the darkness before you can actually come up to the light.
I find this conversation wonderful, especially because we just mentioned David Lynch, and now I just feel like we should have a conversation about David Lynch and how amazing he is as a person, creator, and everything. God, yeah. Right? Okay. So like that transcendental meditation that he does, I have actually trained myself to get to a part where I can actually get somewhere, and that's where a lot of my ideas come from when I'm working on different things, right? So I love that. Amazing. Like, I try meditate as often as possible. Lately it hasn't been so possible because Kiali was here a lot more and I'm working a lot more, but it turns out the busier you are, the more time you should make for meditation, so I'm still trying to find my flow.
I know. Yeah.
But yeah, it's fascinating to see how he creates these whole entire worlds that are so dark and dreary in many aspects, but also have so many colorful characters and people that are unusual, and just makes such a beautiful, rich tapestry involving all of that in a revolving story that does actually bring you down the dark in order to go, yep, this is actually existence. But isn't it beautiful?
Yeah, I think you just described it so well. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, there's a lot of interesting characters, and it's like he's communicating to you. It's like you might watch it and on the surface you kind of think, well, this is crazy, it doesn't make sense, but on a subconscious level you're like, hang on, I get this, I don't know what it is, but I get it, you know? It's like a subconscious level of understanding.
Once a year I put a tent in my sitting room and I buy loads of donuts and I make loads of coffee and I watch Twin Peaks start to finish.
Oh my god, that sounds like heaven.
It is. It's just me in my tent watching Twin Peaks start to finish going, oh, I picked up something else this time. Oh, isn't the Black Lodge glorious? Oh, look at those colour escapes. How does red work so well with black and white? Like...
yeah, the colors and just
Isn't Audrey Horne just like the most beautiful woman that ever lived? Like, all these
yeah.
questions.
Yes, yes. It's got a real like, I don't know, like, yeah, like, what am I trying to say? A style and a mood, and it just captures a real cool, yeah, cool mood, cool, yeah.
But it's like a dreamlike state. Like, it's like if you tried to interpret one of your own dreams. Like, that's basically what he's managed to do, is put us all in a dreamlike state where everything
Yeah.
makes sense, but it doesn't. Like,
Yeah, because when you're in the dream, it makes sense. And then when you wake up and you think, whoa, I just dreamed about that. And you're like, that that doesn't make sense. Like, I actually had a dream like that last night. Yeah,
I love
it was
dreams.
just, you know, I was with a group of people. Like, this is all I remember right now. I was with a group of people. We're in a kitchen and we were like cooking some stuff. But then we had to like escape the house because just this like, I don't know, green blob just filled up the house and we had to like escape. And like at the time it was like, felt so like, whoa, this is actually, this is normal. Like, this is meant to happen. And then I wake up and I'm like, what the hell was that all about? Yeah. But I like that.
I love that. I haven't let myself dream for a while, actually, because my dreams are getting too difficult. So I kind of allow myself to switch them off. Be like, no dreams.
Wow.
Yeah. No, that's, yeah. There was a time there where all I was dreaming about was putting gigs on. And I'd wake up in hysteric crying every single morning. Like, I would just wake up with floods of tears. Like, I don't mean like just a few tears. I mean floods of tears, because the loss of everything that's going on around here hits me so hard. Like, I don't think people realize, like, there's weeks where I'll take to the bed for 3 days because I can't actually deal with the loss of everything that's around us.
Yeah. No, it definitely, yeah, it's starting to have a real impact. You're like, hang on a minute, where are the gigs? Like, I miss the social, and like, it's all gone.
It's all
But
gone.
yeah.
Yeah. But then, like, weirder dreams, like, I was, I'd be expecting, like, to be having, like, I don't know, like, maybe I dream about going on a romantic date. No, I dream about putting gigs on and it renders me fine. It's just like,
Yeah.
and then as well, what I was finding really difficult is like, okay, so I have all these bands who want to do gigs, but I don't want to organise gigs because I keep having to reshuffle them. And every time I reshuffle them, I'm rendered useless to everybody because I'm so sad that this has happened again and I lose my faith in the whole system. So I was like, I'm just going to wait till things kick back off and hope for the best.
Yeah. That's all you can do. Yeah. I know. It's hard.
So hard.
Yeah. But I'm so glad that you're doing this podcast or whatever, and you've got to like, it is frustrating when you've got the drive and you're like, right, I'm ready to do this. And then it's like, oh, I can't. And then it just is really disheartening, and you're like, but then you've got to just, okay, well, at least I have this thing going for me. This is secure. This is happening. So I'm going to focus my attention into something that I can actually see is I can actually do at the moment. So
Yeah, because there's a point I think all of us were getting. I think I'm a bit insensitive to the world around me now because I spent so long trying to fight for things to be seen and no one taking me serious. Do you know what I mean? Back in March, I pretty much told everyone, I imagine this will go on till 2023. And everyone was like, no, you're crazy. It's like, no, I'm telling you, I'm going to do a load of interviews because I just don't think things are going to go back to normal. And especially not for the independents, right? Because the music industry is an industry. So they're going to care about money. The people that are in power are going to care about things that suit them. They're not going to see how important we are. So I'm going to keep going with this. And everyone's like, she's after losing the plot. Like, this is just...
exactly.
Yeah. And we're like 19 months in and we're still no closer to the end and people are finally getting angry. And I was like, yeah, that anger is gone. I wish it was still there. I've been trying to tell you all and nobody, like, okay. So now you're angry. Cool. When you calm down and we all realize that we can do this together and we can do it in a, inventive way where everyone gets in, we talk.
yeah, this is like your spite, because now they're all angry and you're just totally calm. You're like, well, I knew this was gonna happen, and like, yeah.
Do you think anyone really cares that we get to perform or have gigs? No, they don't. Like, they never did, though. Like, the fact that music's not allowed to relaunch makes perfect sense. I mean, if we're to look at history, they burnt our books first. Anything that gives us hope makes us very hard to control. Why would they relaunch
Yeah,
music,
yeah.
huh?
I know. Yeah, there comes a point where you have to be like, okay, this is happening. They don't care. They don't give a shit. I'm just here. Like, yeah, I had a moment like that the other day because I was getting so frustrated. I was just like, how am I supposed to do this? Like, no gigs. Like, I'm having a release. Like, why is it so hard? And I was just like, okay, it's hard. This is the way it is.
It's just the way it is.
Yeah, I'm do I'm happy with myself for trying, but all I can do is all I can do. So yeah.
We can't change much. I mean, we can certainly try, and we can be inventive about how we give people platforms, and we can stay positive, but like, I don't really think we're going to change much. So I'm just going to stay calm about it now.
Yeah.
That's all I have.
Yeah. I mean, maybe when we accept there's nothing we can do, the answer will come along like, this is what you can do. So that, yeah, always be open to, there might be something in the future that we could do to, like, as a spite, like a spite gig or something. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So we're talking about gigs, so let's go to that uncomfortable question where we actually have to delve into gig history. So gigs that you've attended that you loved, venues that you've been to that you loved or hated, and gigs that maybe you hated, and your own gigs. Talk to us about those things that we've completely forgotten about.
Yeah, those gigs. Wow, yes. Yeah, well, I have been to many gigs in my time. So one that I actually loved, like, I mean, for a start, like, the Grand Social was always such a nice venue in Dublin, and I'd say one of my personal favorite gigs there was going to see CW Stone King do a solo gig. He's this, like, Australian guy who, like, his last album was recorded with 2 mics. He just totally, like, it's like he's totally, like, spited the commercial, clean sound way of doing things, and his recordings sound amazing because it's like you feel like it's something that you might discover his record just lying in the jungle or something, and then put it on, and that's how it sounds. But he's great. He's such a, like, he's just got this, like, kind of relaxed funniness about him when he's on stage, and I hadn't got to see that before because he usually would play with a band. So this gig that was in the Grand Social, when it was about 2018 maybe, yeah, I got to see him play live, and he was very funny on his own. Like, it's hard for that to come across when he was with the band, but you really realized how, yeah, just how, like, cool he was. Like, his songs are amazing and he's great, but he just is so, like, kind of, he doesn't take things too seriously, and the way he says things, it's just very funny. And I got to meet him afterwards, and he, like, I gave him my EP, and then he, like, commented on my Instagram, I think, saying that it was, great to, like, have it, and so I was very chuffed with that. That was, like, a great moment. Yeah, and yeah, that was a good gig. So yeah, like, I've been to so many. Okay, another of my favorite gigs. I don't know if you've heard Frazee Ford. If you haven't, she's American. Like, if you haven't heard her, you should check her out. She's really cool, Frazee Ford. And the first time I saw her, it was actually in America. I had traveled to New York, and I got to New York at, like, midnight, and it would have been like 5 a.m. here or something. So I'd, like, been traveling all night. So I stayed over in New York, and then the next morning I got on a bus, went to Ohio, and like I think I was on an overnight bus as well. So by the time I got to this festival, like the sun was out, it was amazing. It was like, I don't know, 5 p.m. or something. I arrived with all my tent and my gear, just totally on my own. Arrived into this festival, and there was Frazee Ford on the stage, just being beautiful and amazing. And I just slumped down on the grass, and like after all that traveling, and then to just like hear Frazee Ford, I was like actually in tears. I was just like, I'm here, I'm in heaven. Like it was really cool. Like, and she's got like, she's a great like artist for this sort of like womanly strength about her. I really like it, and very, yeah, very warm sound, and you really feel like you can like most artists I like because I can feel their character in their voice, and they're just themselves in their voice, and they sound like they really mean what they're saying and all that. But yeah, and so they were gigs that stood out for me, artists that I admire. And then I guess I have played a lot of gigs. What ones did I, well, obviously I enjoyed the Transmission, festival. That was like one of my, it was so good to get back playing, and I felt so appreciated. Like that's the one thing that I love, that really matters. It really like helps the performances when people are engaged and you feel like appreciated, and that's like the cherry on top, like. So the Transmission was that's all I need, just to it doesn't have to be a big gig, but yeah, played a lot of gigs. Even, yeah, I just, I have played, I've played some gigs where I can be like, oh, I played this stage. Like I played the Cosby stage at Electric Picnic. That was like one of the, I don't know, biggest stages or whatever. But oh yeah, I really enjoyed, yeah, this was like the ultimate like fun gig because it was so nice to be, I played this So Far Sounds gig in New York once, right? And it was again like my favorite gigs are like the intimate gigs, so this was very intimate. And I love how in New York, or in some places, maybe in America, I don't know, they're so like open with their like expression. So like I just started singing like Dance With Me, one of my songs, and I immediately just heard like from the crowd, and I was like, oh, it's so sweet. They're so sweet because they're so like like they just want to hear you, and they're just so amazed by everything that really like is a lovely feeling to have.
Yeah, they're just that little bit more open.
Yeah,
They're a little bit less repressed.
yeah. Yeah, and that can be good in many ways. It has probably its downsides too, but it's a nice refreshing thing, if you're not used to it. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think that's amazing. So, like, the last question I'm going to ask you before I ask you if there's anything you want to add yourself is, what local bands do you recommend? And that can be anywhere in our 32 counties.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm just there are so many people, so many bands, but lately, I really love the album by Aoife Nasa Francis. She's so good, isn't she? Yeah. And then, I also like the band The Bleeding Heart Pigeons from Limerick. They're a great music, great band. I did a bit of recording with the lead singer. He has a recording studio, so but I've been listening to their music, and yeah, like they were the two that sort of came to mind, but there are so many. I love talking about artists that I love, and because I know so many, like my friend Fiona O'Loughlin recently, like I just yesterday saw this music video that she'd released, or like a techno video. She's a poet, but she like made this video that's amazing, and it's like this kind of techno song, but it's got like her like it's just so well crafted. It's got her poem over the music, but the way it's been produced, it's so cool. I really like it. Yeah.
Okay, send me that later, please. Thank you. Because you know, I'm on this whole electronic music buzz at the moment that's unstoppable.
Yeah.
Yay. No, I love music. Like I lost these earlier today actually before the interview, and I thought I was going to have a panic attack because they've been like my comforter for like, I don't know. I don't think anyone's ever seen me without headphones on. Like in you know, in all my life, they're just always on. Like that's why I probably miss out on so much of life, because I just couldn't care less because I have my music.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, why not? Like
The same way, you know. You're singing your songs, you're writing your stuff, you're playing your guitar. You don't be caring what's going on around you, same.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's probably good to just accept that. Be that way. Mhm. Yeah.
Music is my true wife.
Yes. It's like, it's medicine. It's just, it does the same thing as medicine, you know. Yeah.
Absolutely. It's so
And that's totally fine.
transformative and transportational and important.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like nature.
Music and nature together?
I would love that. Can we do something with music and nature together soon, please?
Actually, yeah, there's a thing I'd like to involve you in that involves a community garden, but we'll talk about that on a different time. Yeah, no, music and nature, they're pretty much the things that I live for. So it's the perfect thing.
Oh, awesome. I'm intrigued.
Ooh. So before we stop recording, is there anything you'd like to add to the interview before I can tell you about the things that I might, you know?
Yes. To add to this interview, well, I mean, all I want to say is that, like, I hope people want to engage with my music and want to listen to my new single that's coming out on the 25th of June. Please, yeah, just like, I'm here, do my thing, like, and this lockdown it's been great to not meet anyone and just be by myself and get in tune with myself. But now I'm like thinking like, oh, like, you know, like I want to connect to more people. I want to spread my stuff and for it to reach the people that really need it and really could benefit and really connect to. So hopefully that makes sense. And yeah, I'm here. I don't bite. People
She's really nice. She's incredibly funny. So like if you follow her Instagram, you'll either get like great words of wisdom or hilarious accents. Like she's really, really good. Like I actually think that is definitely a brilliant thing to discover in lockdown. I can't do accents. I can speak like a French person, but that's only because I can speak French perfectly. So like it's just about changing my accent a little bit and just being okay with the fact that I can just do it. But you see, like that's just because I can speak French perfectly. So I can do the same with French speaking with an English accent because it's just about tricking my brain into being the different thing. But I can't do what you do.
Yeah, but I can't do what you do, you know, like
look, we're all cool in our own ways.
Yeah.
But definitely check out Leila Jane. If you haven't heard Women's Blues, go get that song into you and then you'll understand why we're all so excited to see what she has coming out next.
Lovely. I so appreciate this. It's so lovely to talk to you.
So lovely to talk to you. I'm going to stop recording. We're going to go back to casual chats.
All right.